Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies, where tonight's going to be a very interesting night, it is each and every single week here at Talk Junkies household in the middle of the United States, of the states of America. Got Johnny, Jesse in the house. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Fantastic.
Cold.
It is cold here in the Midwest. We had a cold front come through, and it's blistering cold. I think it's going to be a low of
Blistering cold?
Yeah, it's going to be a low of 1 degree tonight. So the wind chill will probably be like -10 to -15, somewhere in that area. But here we are doing a podcast as we do each and every single week. Thank you to all the junkies who listen out there. Before we start the podcast, had some technical issues for last week's podcast, so we're just going to get this one up probably and save the next one for maybe just because what we talked about was pretty general. So we could.
Man, I really don't remember. Like, last week's kind of a blur for me as far as, and it's not like I was drunk or anything. Like, last week was just kind of a blur.
We just set up the metaverse, and then Jesse.
That's right.
Jesse was trying to get a.
I was very distracted in that podcast.
He was distracted.
That's right. Fucking talking to children. I remember now.
That was such a weird fucking thing, though. I'm not going to give that any more time.
Yeah.
Going back to the weather shit, one thing that me and Johnny were talking about, like yesterday, was what is that bullshit that's on weather apps that will give you the degrees that are outside, the humidity, the wind speed, and then they go, this is the temperature, but this is what it feels like. Who the fuck needs to know what it feels like? Just give us the fucking temperature.
I've always wondered that.
No, see, Jesse put it in good. I never thought about it because to me, not delving deep into it, it always made sense. I was like, oh, it's 13 degrees out, but it feels like -3 because of the wind and because of the precipitation and the moisture in the air and all that. But then you made a valid point. I was like, wait a second. If it feels like -3 degrees, then shouldn't the thermometer be -3 degrees? Like,
or why do you even have that comparison to feeling like? Or because if you would have never told me what you thought it felt like, weather.com, then I would have just taken the 8 degrees for what it is. I'm like, yeah, it's 8 degrees out right now.
It's cold.
Not like it feels like -4.
Even the news does.
It's just fucking cold. Like, I don't need the feels like shit.
But even the news does that. And they've done that since I was a child. I always remember that.
No, they always have. And I guarantee you it's got to deal with everything. It's got to be a combo of like wind mixed with, once again, the precipitation or like the moisture in the air or how dry the air is, whatever, all that humidity. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's got to be all that combined together to be like, this is what it actually feels like with your skin. But then I'm like, what is the difference between that and just the thermometer saying what the degrees is?
Just give us the weather. We know it's shit.
And the thing is, yeah,
we know
I'm sorry.
it's shit.
I know we're not trying to go deep on this, but it's just like, if it's really windy outside, wouldn't my thermometer outside say due to the wind, it would make it that much colder?
No.
Not the way, no.
So then how do they know what it feels like?
So why wind feels bad to us is because like due to perspiration, if you have any kind of like perspiration or like that will make it colder on your skin directly. But still, I'm like, you don't need.
So that wouldn't change the mercury inside the actual thermometer. Is
No.
what you're saying? That's just okay. Then that kind of makes sense then.
Just give me the fucking temperature.
Yeah.
I agree with him. You don't need the feels like shit.
I've always wondered it. Maybe we'd have a meteorologist on, Brian Busby. Or no, he's not a meteorologist. Well, who am I thinking?
Brian Busby's a
okay,
meteorologist.
yeah, maybe we get him on or Gary Lezak and figure that shit out. That'd be dope. That'd be cool with
just get rid of that shit. It's shitty outside.
You know what's really weird? I remember doing, and man, I have a really bad memory of my childhood. Like, it's just bits and pieces all jumbled together. But there was a summer, and I had never done any kind of summer camp stuff. I never did, like, summer classes or anything, or, like, space camp, I never did any of that shit. But for some reason, I specifically remember doing a weather class thing. We, like, made tornadoes in a bottle and all this shit, but it wasn't at my school. We, like, drove, like, 20 minutes away or some shit, and I did this, like, 8-hour weather class thing. It wasn't at school. I'm pretty sure it was in the summer, and I have no idea what it was for. I was a child. I don't fucking remember.
I remember doing the tornado shit, but it was in school in the
No,
science class.
this was definitely not in school with any of my normal teachers. This was like drove to a different area, completely different building, like everything. And it was like it was a solid, like, man, I don't remember. It was so long ago, but I know it wasn't an hour class. It was like an all day thing. We went and did stuff outside. We went and fucking did stuff in the classroom or in the lab.
You went on a field trip, man.
Maybe that's what it was.
That's what they call those.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in school. It was like during the summer. I don't know.
That's a field trip, man.
Not in summer.
If you had summer school.
Yeah.
I wasn't in summer school. That's what I'm saying. Like
Your parents were just trying to get rid of you.
dude, no. In hindsight,
parents
I'm
were
like,
hey,
in
get on
hindsight,
this bus for an hour or two. We
exactly.
need some peace.
My parents were like, we need some time.
Go learn about the weather,
Go
Johnny.
spin some water in a bottle and make a tornado. That's when I learned about cumulonimbus clouds and strat. Whatever. I obviously didn't learn very well because that's all I remember is cumulonimbus.
Something with weather is what it was, but
yeah.
We're gonna do things a little different tonight. Typically, we try and hit hot topics going on in the world, but you know what, man, we got to take a step away from that. Every once in a while, and try and just talk about just who knows and who cares, whatever. We're just going to maybe just dive into a little bit of philosophical shit tonight, or just some what if questions or shit like that. I don't know, man.
And if you're watching this, we want you to answer these questions in the comments. Because we want to, because we can do this all day. We could do this without a mic. We could just talk to each other and ask ourselves dumb questions. But I want to know what y'all are thinking too.
Yeah, that would be dope. But before we do that, there is one thing I want to say, kind of not politically driven, but something, a hot topic in the world. So from my understanding, I haven't read too much into it. So the Maxwell trial, she did get, what is it, like 5 counts or something like that? Have you guys looked into that at all?
A little bit.
Yeah, so she got charged for soliciting a minor, 5 counts or something.
It was like 4. She got hit with like 4 out of 5 counts. If I
but
remember
I think the minimum for each one's 5 years, which is what she's probably going to get. So she's looking at like 25 years.
Plus out early.
Yeah.
Not nobody, but the majority of people don't serve their full sentence.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, I didn't do my due diligence and check into it, but I don't know if she's eligible for parole or anything like that. But to my understanding is all the files are being sealed and not released to the public.
Yeah, of course. This surprise anyone? Did anybody ever really think that something was going to come out of this and like big names were going to be shown?
Yeah.
No.
But
if you thought there was going to be some bomb dropped at the trial.
But I mean, like, so for instance, like
she's smarter than that. She saw some shit.
She's alive.
No, I know what happened.
She's alive.
Yeah.
She's going to serve her time and then be done and still be alive.
I'm sure there's a few scenarios that are floating around that are definitely.
Unless she kills herself in prison.
Right. That are conspiracy-like. When that might happen, you never know. But why is it? Because like whenever Jesse, you always bring up the example of what happened in the UK or in Britain when all the government got exposed, and those names were actually released to the public. They actually knew what was going on.
Yeah, they caught some motherfuckers.
Yeah,
from God damn it, I can never remember it.
Jimmy
Hoffa.
Salva.
No.
Jimmy Salva.
Yeah, Jimmy Salva. And I don't want to get into that.
That's like the union. That's like Teamsters.
Yeah, you brought it up multiple times, but what's the difference? Is it money, or did Maxwell? Did she have like a fail safe switch, kind of like what's his name, Julian Assange, when he said like, hey, if you kill me, then all this information is going to be leaked, type of thing. Maybe she said, hey, if you give me this amount of time, or blah blah blah. And again, this is all conspiracy.
Who knows? Hopefully, she had she's had a lot of prep time. If you think about the time between, because think about Epstein being arrested, she had all this prep time, and she knew that she was going to be on the chopping block next. So I mean, Kevin McAllister, Home Alone, got a lot of prep time. You can set yourself up.
Very true.
That
had to have been the case. And with the amount of, with the names that have been floating around, it wouldn't surprise me if she's like, hey, if you guys kill me off, like some shit's going to get released if you kill me off.
The other thing is you have to look at like, what if she did know some stuff and was able to drop names, but now her choices are the government or the whoever is telling her, the lower form government, just the courts and stuff, and the police and whatnot, and the prosecutors are telling her, hey, drop these names and we'll cut down your sentence to, like nothing. Like, give us all this info and we'll cut it down. And she's like, man, that sounds like a good thing that would help me out. But on the other end, if I drop these names, I would literally die. So taking the 25-year sentence, probably better for my own health.
Yeah. But, she's already a little bit older. And I guess
still better than dying.
And for the things that she's accused of doing, if she truly did do those things, and I'm certain that she did, she probably doesn't really have a guilty conscience. She's probably just completely okay with all the shit.
These are individuals that have been out for themselves,
from the get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I know. I just kind of want to get you
we
guys.
all want names. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, we all want names.
We're never going to get that type of shit.
People that won't let the Epstein thing fucking die because they try to, like, mainstream news just toss that under the carpet. real quick. No, we want names and we want resolve for that, but we'll never get it. We live in a corrupt ass society.
So I'm curious if the judge was ever approached, because if he's the person, or she, I don't know who the judge was the person who, and they get to say, hey, we're going to either make these files public or we're going to seal these files. I wonder what their thought process was through that. And I'm kind of curious. It should be almost like a press conference for like football players. The judge should have kind of a press conference after the trial saying, hey, this is why I sealed the documents.
But he can just lie to you.
Sure, but I'd still like a press conference, and you can kind of tell when people are lying. I mean, even if they're a good liar, I don't even care. I would still like the explanation on why, and maybe the judge in that moment says why.
Maybe it's not up to him. Maybe he doesn't even know.
I think it is, though, because it says judge decides to seal
okay.
Judge says we're sealing the files for the And I guess with the Freedom of Information Act, eventually maybe it might come out, but JFK files that are still secret documents have never been released. This is that type of situation where
we will find out all these horrible things, or at least our children will.
When it doesn't matter anymore.
When it doesn't matter, and after all these people are dead.
Yeah, after they're all dead, when it affects none of their livelihoods and nothing can be taken from the children or the people who came after them or wherever their money went. As soon as it can't fuck with someone's money, we'll know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But until as long as it can fuck with someone's money, we'll never know.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just wild. When I saw that, I was like, man, that's not fun. That's not cool. But I guess we can get into
what you initially said we were going to talk about, which was
non-government stuff.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to bring that up. There's some other shit that I'll probably bring
and
up
it should be talked about, because you need to bring up Jeffrey Epstein as much as humanly possible, because it is,
Which I'm mad at myself for. I haven't looked into the Maxwell stuff at all. Honestly, at all.
Because we already knew what
I think that's why. It's because I was like, we're not going to find out anything.
Man, it's so dismal. I'm
we'll move
talking
on.
about.
Let's move on.
Okay, just move on.
So we're just going to go into some just weird, random questions that, like, if you're at work and you have that weird person at work and they just ask you some random question, that type of shit.
That was literally us at work, Paul. You and me.
Oh yeah, I'm that type of guy, man. Where I get real weird. Not in a bad way, but just like, just all this different type of shit hits my head, and I'm just curious on what other people think. So we'll just kind of dive into it, man. And again, like what you said, Johnny, for anyone who's listening out there, kind of put in the comments below what you would do in these situations after I kind of asked the question. So we'll just take it from there. So one of the first questions would be, would you rather never be able to lie or never be able to tell the truth?
Who wants to? I would rather never be able to tell the truth. Maybe that says a lot about me, but I would rather never be able to tell the truth, because I feel like you could work around that as to where never being able to tell a lie, even little white lies that are like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like someone could ask you something and you not being able to lie could fuck up your life or their life or the lives of other people in some way. But never being able to tell the truth, you could work around that with other, I don't know. I can't explain myself well, but I feel like as far as the ability to communicate with other people, even though in all reality, you should probably be telling the truth 80, 90% of the time, and lies are a little bit of what you say, or that's realistically how most people are probably, is the majority of stuff they're saying is true, and they lie once in a while. So you would think it would be better to always tell the truth. But I feel like it would be harder to communicate that way.
I almost think the opposite. Like, that'd be so therapeutic if you just, like, not to an individual, but just humanity for, like, one day, to where, like, hey, you have to tell the truth no matter
There's
what.
a movie about this with Ricky
And
Gervais.
I know what movie. The
Sorry, keep
Invention
going.
of Lying.
Yeah.
But no, like, that would be so therapeutic. We'd all be able to get over so much shit and realize that, man, we're just human beings, and
It'd probably be better.
Like I said, it'd be therapeutic to only be able to tell the truth. Now, it's just an individual.
But that's everybody. That's everybody only being able to tell the truth. What if it's just you?
No, sure, fuck it. I can only tell the truth. Why not? There would be some shit, that would be heard, and I'd be like, man, fuck, this is awkward and embarrassing and fucking and all that, and then I'd be able to get over it. But then there's a sense of, like, relief afterwards. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Truth is always the way to go. Truth is always the way to go.
It is there, but I think that truth is complemented by lies sometimes, kind of like how you were saying. A little bit.
Man, it's weird. I think And honestly, you're probably right. And like I said, I was like, man, this probably says a lot about me before I even started my answer. But I would be okay. Like, I could function just fine only telling the truth. You're right. Jesse's like, man, there'd probably be some stuff that comes up that's like embarrassing or whatever, but you get over that, and that is what it is. I would be perfectly fine and function fine only telling the truth. But I almost feel like for my own like selfish reasons, it would be easier to communicate with people if I could never tell the truth, because I could work around that with lies. I could tell you something. I don't know. That's weird. That's tough.
I've also just known a handful of people in my life that are habitual liars, and all they do is lie, and everybody knows that they're lying, and even they know that they're lying, but it's almost like a mental disorder that they have.
Yeah.
And I can't stand those fucking people.
Yeah,
I'm like, why are you? You're telling me something that's obviously fucking fake as fuck to make yourself look cool, and all you do is look like a piece of shit. I can think of three people off the top of my head right now that have been habitual liars, and I never enjoyed like my interaction with them. So just for my interaction with habitual liars, I was like, oh my God, I never want to be that fucking person. I'd rather talk about, like my faults and shit and be honest about it than try to beef myself up in some way that's this false image of myself, and I think everybody appreciates honesty more so anyway.
That's being authentic.
Yeah, being, a really authentic human being, being honest about this experience.
I think just for as much as you can be honest, though, you still complement life with lies. Like you said, little white lies. Even if you're trying to be as honest as possible, I think sometimes you're in situations where you're with someone and they ask you a question and you almost feel like you're better off telling them.
Sometimes you're lying to protect other people.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I'm saying, yeah. So they truly do complement each other, and it's kind of weird, a weird question to try and answer. For me, I don't know what it would be.
I mean, you got to pick one.
I've watched Shrek a few times, and I know Pinocchio's in those movies, and he's not allowed to lie because his nose will grow, and he's able to work around that in certain scenes of, I think, Shrek 2 or Shrek 3, where his nose doesn't grow because he's able to navigate it because he doesn't want his nose to grow. So he's able to actually navigate telling the truth without lying. So I don't know. For me, I don't know. I'd probably go with I'm with you. I'd probably lie.
Look, I guess, so Jesse's, the way you said it, always telling the truth. You're 100% right in the fact that would be better.
That makes society better.
It would make society better, and it would make you better because you're more authentic. I took the easy way out, which is that I feel like as far as my own, like, just me having everyday conversation with people, man, that sounds so fucked. But honestly, like, me being selfish, it would be easier to lie and communicate that way than always telling, man, that sounds so fucked, and I can't put it in the right words to where I just don't sound like a fucking crazy person.
And don't ever think that lying doesn't have its place either, because 100% it does. I mean, like, just the biggest example that I can think of is people protecting, like Jews from, like, hid from the Nazis, Like, yeah, that was a big moral question that being raised religious, they'd ask that question, being like, because lying is a sin. Well, what about, back in World War II, Nazi Germany, and, you have the SS knock on your door, and you're hiding a family of 4 upstairs, and they're like, hey, do you have any Jews in the house? And you go, no. Well, that is not, that is a morally right lie. Like, there are morally, that's just the easiest example. I know it's like,
I would go as far to say
super cliche to, like, bring up.
What constitutes as a lie, though, when you're specifically talking about individuals talking with each other? I mean, I know that's probably going way too deep, but
you're getting way too deep into the question.
I'm saying in that instance, what does it matter if you're lying to someone who's trying to kill someone? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that
I guess I'm taking the question technically, meaning that whatever any statements you say are either a lie or they're a fact.
I can fix all this for you right now. Is if you lie to make, and it's a benefit to you to be dishonest, that makes you profit or gain in some way, then it's morally wrong. If you're lying and it's self-sacrificial, there's nothing wrong with it. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And then you have the little white lies, here and there about shit.
And I just thought about why earlier I said I would lie all the time. It's because using, like, speech, I could still tell the truth with lying, as to where I couldn't lie with only telling the truth. For example, your Nazi Germany question. If I could only lie, right? That'd be, I could say no. Like they ask, are you hiding Jews under the floorboards, whatever? I could be like, no, I'm not, because I can only tell lies or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But let's say more like real world situation, I'm trying to communicate with someone and I can only lie. And you're like, Johnny, did you take the last drink out of the fridge? And I would be, no, which is obviously a lie because I can only lie. I'd be like, no, I didn't. But also, I just flew 100 feet today. So now you know by me saying that, we're able to have a conversation because you know that I'm trying to say, yes, I did do something. You know what I'm saying?
So within this question,
like I'm doing such a shit job.
You are doing a shit job of that.
It's just within this question.
I could use multiple lies to tell you what I'm trying to actually tell you. As to where when someone asks you something and you need to lie for someone else's benefit or for whatever reason, you couldn't if you could only tell the truth.
That's what I brought up the Pinocchio analogy, because that's what Pinocchio does in Shrek.
Yeah.
He's lying and doing exactly what you just described to say a truth to someone, you know? It's just... I guess you could probably do it either way. You could do truth in the same aspect. It's just very weird, lying and telling the truth, man. Truth or dare. I guess that's not really a good comparison of it, but like I said, man, I'd probably lie too, because I'm right there with you. I think I would do the same thing. I'd be able to float it around.
Like I said, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. But what I'm trying to say is that if every single, and I'm like being like every single individual statement I said was a lie, like every individual sentence that I said was a lie, I could still use that to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Could work around that by saying multiple things to tell the truth.
Unless you're around some people who have no idea who you are. I mean,
yeah, but even then though, there's ways to work around it. As to where if I could only tell the truth, maybe that would be great 95% of the time. But the 5% it wouldn't, it would be awful. All right. I'm happy with my answer.
Same. Moving on. Next question. I think this is a good one. So the next question would be, what worries you the most about the future?
Oh, man.
Well, then it's going to get political.
Also, that's like real deep.
So you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, because then it's just going to get political if
You're
we're
right,
trying to avoid that. Well, you want more lighthearted.
Yeah, if I'm going to be 100% honest about what worries me about the future, that's fucking...
This next one's pretty good. If your inner voice was an actual person and talked to you the way it usually does, would you enjoy the conversation and keep in touch with them? That one's fucking...
I don't really...
Man,
I don't really feel like I ever have like an inner voice or have conversations with my...
When you're by yourself, though, your brain, like you're thinking...
Everybody has an inner monologue. Actually,
I'm thinking in my
people
own...
with a disorder that don't have that. That inner monologue, you know?
I guess I feel like, and I'm not saying I have some kind of fucking disorder. That's ridiculous.
It's actually fairly common. I've read this on Imager. People don't have that internal monologue that happens.
I don't feel like I have an internal monologue. I just feel like I think about things, and then that just all processes without me realizing. And
like, do you hear it in a voice?
No.
Dude, you have that.
Yeah.
You legitimately have that.
But that's just how I've lived my whole life.
I know. No, it's okay. It's not a disorder. It's just some people, that's how they process things. You don't hear that inner monologue or like that voice processing shit. It's actually pretty common.
Yeah, I definitely.
Just say it doesn't mean that I don't have a conscience. Obviously, I know right from wrong.
No, it's about how you experience thought inside of your own head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't ever have a voice. That sounds insane.
Dude,
to me.
look that up. That's a real thing.
It's your own voice.
That's a real thing.
It's never my own voice, though. There's no voice at all. It's just like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you think about where someone talks to you in your head?
It's almost like you're talking to yourself, but without being loud. When you're like in conversation with someone, and like, let's say you're like in a fighting scenario, like you're fighting back and forth with this person, but not physically, but just verbally. Like you're
like having a conversation to decide stuff
in your own head. Yeah.
Yeah, I just decide stuff. Like, it just happens.
Dude, it's like 30%. It's either like 20% or 30% of people like don't have that.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm curious on the studies on that, because, I mean, how many people...
You need to look that up, though. It's really interesting.
I never even knew that, too. I never knew that. That's pretty interesting.
That people think differently. Like, because you can legitimately hear a voice, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've never... That sounds... To me, that actually sounds insane. Like, voices in your head kind of shit. I know that's not what it is. I know that's not what it is. But when I think about it, that's what I imagine, because I've never I don't have a conversation with myself when I'm thinking about something. Even like completely alone, blocked off from everybody else, home alone, like decompressing at the end of the night where you think about your day and shit like that. There's never me thinking about stuff or talking about. It's just,
But
it's like this and this and this happened today, and this is how I deal with it. But I'm never like discussing it.
So what do you do when you're tossing and turning in bed and you can't go to sleep?
so mine's like in my own voice. Is that was the initial question?
Well, you guys can answer this question then.
Dude, I'm telling you need to look this up because
I will.
it's actually a thing to where
If
Never ever thought about this before.
If your inner voice was an actual person and talked to you the way it usually does, would you enjoy the conversation and keep in touch with them?
And my answer is no, because I don't like myself that much. But no, you
It
need
said
to,
if it was a different person. You could choose the person it is. Like you could have fucking
oh,
Chris
like
Pratt or Jennifer Aniston in your fucking brain.
okay.
Or who's that guy? Alan Watts.
Yeah.
Could be the
Oh
voice.
man, that'd be fucking legit as fuck. So yes, I guess.
Yeah, I would too, for sure.
This is crazy. No, I remember reading about this like years ago, that this is actually like a certain percentage of people don't, because it's more common, the thought process in like hearing inside.
Yeah, that is not a thing for... I've never thought about that.
Yeah, no.
I've never known that people hear voices of them.
Yeah,
Or like
whenever you,
It's not like you hear it. It's just like whenever the thoughts are going like through your head, it's in your voice.
yeah,
But it's not loud. I mean, it's not obviously coming out of your mouth. Like, I know how I talk, and that's how it is.
but
in
it's
my
like
brain.
you're talking to yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
no, and I kid you not, I've read like a full blown like article on this where there were like a certain percent, and dude, people commenting on this were like, oh my god, I never realized like what you're doing right now, that people experience.
I didn't know y'all had people that, or yourself talk to your...
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's dope, dude. And I didn't know that people didn't. Like they
that's...
just,
no,
I
for
just-
sure. You can. I'm trying to think about how you would Google this, like inner not
thoughts.
having an inner monologue.
Because once again, I'm not saying I don't have like a conscience and shit and think about stuff. Like
yeah,
obviously,
it's just
like
different.
yeah, there's still it's the same.
yeah.
It's probably the same thing y'all experience, just without the voice, I guess.
So how do you process? Oh yeah, no, dude, there's so many questions. I
Man,
want to go on.
you get into this would actually be just a really good podcast in general to have somebody on, because there have
Yeah.
been like psychological studies done on it. It means nothing. It doesn't mean, oh, this is bad or this is good. It's just like a lower percentage people think in a non-monologue and don't hear themselves thinking in their own head kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I could see
And-
how it could be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, but
I don't know.
there's been no negative or positive to it. It's just people think
Just a
internally
different way to think.
differently.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you can't. It's just how you do it.
Yeah. Well, Johnny can't answer that question.
No, I mean, if I did have a
I'm telling
voice,
you, Google that shit. I don't know
Yeah.
how exactly you're gonna word that, but you can Google that, and that's a real
interesting.
that's a real fucking thing.
Yeah.
I honestly never thought about that until you had that question, because I never thought about y'all. I've never thought about. I've always heard. Okay, you always hear about like conscience, like Jiminy Cricket or whatever was Pinocchio's conscience or whatever, and you've got like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder and all that shit. Like I've
See, like
seen
I'm
that
hearing
kind of
myself
stuff.
think. I'm hearing myself think in my own head right now.
Yeah. Same.
Really, how is that not? How do you? If while I'm talking, you're hearing yourself think about your next thoughts and processes, how
mean,
do you take in any other
on.
information?
So, but can you do it though?
Can you sit in your head and then literally have your thoughts be in your own voice?
All I did when trying to do that while you talked was say what you were saying. So internally in my voice, I said, "Can you think about your own thoughts and have them say?" Like I was just copying what you were saying in my head.
We need to delve deeper
Yeah,
into this,
yeah.
because this is actually really interesting, and I know this is 100% a thing.
No, I'm
On-
with you. I'm going to definitely look someone up and try and get him on the show and talk about it. That's about as far as we can go on it right now. You
And I
know
know
what
it's
I'm
a
saying?
lower percentage that actually think the way that you think is the lower percentage, but it has nothing
But
to do
nothing
with
crazy. It's not like 1%
it's
or some
nothing
shit.
crazy, but it's
fucking
not being able
common.
to experience thought in that.
Dude, the
manner.
fact that you said that while I'm talking to you and you're thinking, you've got your own voice processing stuff is insane to me.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh yeah.
That's insane to me, because I'm like, how could you, like, while I'm talking and you're thinking about stuff and you've got another voice, which is your own voice talking to you, how can you take in any information around you?
Maybe that's why you're so smart.
Or process
Could
stuff.
be.
Dude,
Yeah.
maybe that's why you're smarter than us. Maybe that's why. We
Well,
got
no,
the
because-
stupid evolution stick to where it's ourselves and,
But-
it's not separated enough.
But the thing is, it's just like within that own conversation, you're listening to Johnny ask you a question and you answer it, but you're still talking to yourself with your own voice. So you're still processing what it is Johnny has to say.
Man, I couldn't handle that much.
come up with
I
a
couldn't
phone.
handle that much talking at once.
you don't. But it's like your own voice.
We've been
though.
doing it our whole lives, though. So it's like
Yeah,
you're
no.
30
It's just
years
your
of
own-
32 years of doing it. You're just used to it, type of thing.
Yeah, I just hear whatever you're saying, and then answer you, and then I just talk with my own voice, like physically.
Yeah.
No, we'll talk about it like next week whenever we come back on because
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
try to find the article that because
Send me the article and I'll fucking email
I'm
it.
gonna
Dude,
read
it
up
was,
on this
it
now.
was like years ago. It was years ago that I found this.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame that for why I could never show my work in math class. I know it's unrelated, but that's what I'm gonna blame it on.
There you
That's
go.
a valid point, man. Moving on, we'll hit up another one. We're on fire right now after that one.
That's weird. I'm gonna look into that.
Do you think there is... Sorry, my mic moved on me. Jordan, please build me a new table. Do you think there's a difference between living and existing?
I mean, I get, man.
I-
if you're
yeah,
talking about like the
Supposed to be
technical.
philosophical. It's
I'll hit
philosophical.
I'll hit this one first, okay? Life is very long, and people say it's short, and like after having kids and stuff like that, things are moving at a more quicker pace. Science shows that the pineal gland fully develops at the age of 25, which is the perception of time, and that's when time starts going by faster. Because when you're younger, time is going by super slow when you're in school and shit like that. But when it comes to between living and existing, and after having kids, you kind of think about, and I love my kids, man. It changed my life. It probably saved my life. But it makes you think about the things that you could have done maybe prior to having them. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have conversations with people, and for instance, I was a regular at work, was talking to me, and it was snowing outside, yesterday, and they were talking to me about a snowmobile. And I was like, well, how fast do they go? And he was like 100 miles per hour. I was like, holy shit, snowmobiles go 100 miles per hour? And he's like, yeah. And he fucking would drive these snowmobiles out in Yellowstone.
I'm trying to talk to myself, and I can't focus on anything you're saying. All right, I'm listening.
No,
So
you're good.
You get over that shit, man. Just get over that shit for right now.
So
Okay.
this dude literally would drive from Kansas to Wyoming with his 2 snowmobiles and just fucking ranch. And that's him living. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to where a lot of people are existing, just being at work and just doing work shit, and they don't do those types of things. Like me, I could just travel. I could just put my kids in the car right now, and we could drive. And we could go somewhere cool and actually experience what the world has to offer. And I know it's different for everyone. I know it's completely different in what it means to be living. But for me, it would be nature and seeing nature and what it has to offer in a safe way for my kids. But I would say I'm just existing. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, I'm living. I don't know. That's a tough one for me too.
No, which is why it's like philosophical questions because there is no right or wrong answer to it. I just think of like Braveheart. Like, every man dies, but not every man really lives, like kind of shit. Like, if you're talking about, like, just existing, which is almost like the opposite of what you were saying. Like, just existing is one thing, but then, like, living is, like, another. But that all comes down to, like, how we view the words in which we're describing.
But you know what it is that you want to do. Truly, deep down, whenever it comes time to what it is you want to do, you know what it is, but we don't do those things.
Now you're talking about the degree of what living is, though. I'm going to ignore the existing part for a second, because we all know what just existing.
No, can you be alive and not exist? Can something live and not exist?
No, that's
You're
why
in
I'm
a-
saying
you're
you're always
exist and not be
existing.
living.
You're
Like
always
you're-
existing.
If you're in a dark room and no one knows, but
You still exist.
If someone's feeding you, I guess to that person that's feeding you, you're existing. Yeah.
And to yourself, you still exist. You're always going to be existing while you're alive, whatever. The whole living thing, though, like you talking, like I would love to just, man, forget work, forget all this other stuff. I would love to just like, no responsibilities, live out in Colorado, go hiking, go to Utah, go hiking and stuff, be able to go have my own place, shoot guns whenever I want, all this stuff. Fucking, I remember talking to my dad a long time ago about like just kind of joking around about being a hobo and jumping on trains and going from place to place because that would be so fucking cool or whatever.
Train hopping's a thing.
Yeah, like that would be living for me. That doesn't mean I'm not living now. Just because, like, it doesn't mean you're not living now just because you're not getting to do the nature stuff you want to. You're not living to that fullest glorified, like, not even potential.
I think that's
you're not living to your dream.
I think that's what
but
the
you're
question
still living
means.
because you're still taking care of kids. You're still.
When you ask a question like that, I think that's what it means, though. Like the fullest potential of each of those two of those categories.
Well, then nobody is because nobody's living their dreams. Nobody.
It just comes down to like, man.
So they're just existing.
Like
Everyone's
what
existing.
we define.
If that's the
as
way
shit.
you define it, I don't define it that way.
But I think when you look
could
at
switch those two things around so easy, depending on.
I think society tells us that we're only existing based upon what we've created as a society. Majority of the people, like you said earlier, Johnny, 69% of Americans only have $1,000 in their bank account.
Less than $1,000.
So less than $1,000. For what that tells me is people are most Americans are simply just existing.
If money is what you base that
I
off of.
understand.
That's what our society's based on.
I understand what you're coming from as far as the human or the English language coming in, because this can of truly in front of me exists. But this can of truly is not living, though. Mm-hmm. It's not a living, breathing thing. So now it's equated to whenever it can have a negative connotation towards it, just talking about, oh, I'm just existing and I'm really not living. But this is all, man, this all has to do with just like language at the time.
That's the only issue that I have with this question.
Now you're talking about fulfillment of individuals.
Yeah, no, if you worded it differently and talked about like fulfillment or whatever, like, no, a lot of people aren't fulfilled in life.
Yeah.
You're not living your dream. You're still living.
So what's the difference between living and existing?
Just,
being alive
to
or
me,
dead?
that's not. To me, this isn't a philosophical question. This is a question of
like language, almost
like language, like dictation, like what a word means.
Yeah, but
which to me is not a philosophical question. It's just.
But I can get it to where you can get some people amped up, you know.
Yeah.
With, oh man, are you just existing or do you want to live?
Right.
So buy my supplements on Facebook.
We'll move on to that.
I get what you were getting at, though.
Yeah, no, it's not even what I was getting at.
By that, I mean no, I'm not living my dream. I'm not living my dream. I still think I'm living, though.
Yeah. No, fair enough. You guys make good points. Just not much more we can really go on.
That one's just weird because you have the language shit that's in there too, which I mean could be like vice versa or whatever. You're talking about fulfillment and, you know, like, are you really living, you know? Well, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Are you existing? I'm existing too. Yeah, I exist.
And you run into the whole grass is always greener thing where Paul could be not living. Be like, man, Paul's not living his best life, but man, how do you know? You got 2 daughters that you love, you got a wife you love, you got like, you could be living, you know, the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
And then you get over the fence and you're like, man, I really miss what was on the other side of the fence.
Because then you could have somebody on the other end that's like, man, I feel like I'm living, but I just don't exist to anything else in this world. And I feel empty. Like my existence doesn't matter, you know, but I'm living, but my existence doesn't matter. You could switch this up.
You could switch the words because the words just.
So that's the problem that I have with it is just the verbiage of it. Man, you could just switch back and forth. But
okay. Fair enough. So next one. If you really learn from your mistakes, why are you so afraid of making them?
Oh, that's actually
a really
good one. I don't have this answer yet, so we need one of y'all to hit that up.
From just human beings coming off pain and pleasure standpoints, which is what we make the majority of our decisions off of, is pain and pleasure. You know, mistakes hurt. So all of a sudden, and especially in later ages, you know, just talking from a male viewpoint here, is early 20s, you know, late teens, you don't give a fuck. You feel invincible. You'll fucking, you know, do it all. You don't see the consequences long term because there is not so much shit decisions that you make in life is just in the momentary mistake. It ends up kind of sticking with you and scarring you for life. So as you get older and shit, you realize, man, I need to tread more carefully here because I could end up making one mistake that only takes a second to make, and then I'm scarred basically for the rest of my life. So that's where I would take that from. As far as what was the question again?
I said if you
learn from your mistakes,
why
are you so afraid of making them?
Yeah,
because of that reason. Because some mistakes can be so intensely bad, and they can just fucking stick around with you for a long time. So you start being more, you can become more reserved with shit, as far as how you interact on a day-to-day, basis. But no, nobody ever wants to make mistakes and shit and look like a fool. And
yeah, I think mistakes are
all
part
that.
of life, and I don't
No,
necess-
they are.
I don't necessarily think that people are afraid of making mistakes, and maybe as you do get older, you don't want to make a mistake. And that's why I think you do learn from your mistakes, and most people do. And I've made plenty of mistakes in life, and I've learned from them, so I don't make the same ones. I don't think I'm necessarily. The reason I'm afraid of making see, this question is kind of trippy too. Is it saying the same mistake or just mistakes in general?
Just mistakes.
Yeah. I don't know. I learn from my mistakes, and I typically don't make the same mistake. I guess when it comes down to everyday habits.
So it's a good thing you make mistakes because you learn from them. But
Yeah.
why are you afraid of making them in the first place is the question.
Yeah. God, that's too deep for me.
And
man.
also you have to get into the verbiage. I feel like we're gonna have to get into the verbiage with a bunch of these questions as far as what a mistake is.
Yeah. Well, for yourself.
Anything you didn't mean to do.
Yeah. And
An accident
I think
is
you
a
can-
mistake. That's how I would word it.
Think of
It's something that you're doing.
No. This is easy. You just take all the mistakes you've made in life, and those are that's a mistake for you. What would be a mistake to you?
Okay.
Type of thing.
Okay, so like a mistake for me was being a super fucked up 17-year-old running around getting all kinds of fucked up and like breaking into cars and shit and just being a little shithead. That's a massive fucking mistake, that
And you learn from it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I learned from it, and it's once again had this long-lasting shit to where you're like, oh man, you never go back to this. But at the same time, okay, I'm gonna get off that actually, because what you're talking about is more of like, why don't people take risks? Because risks might entail mistakes, but that doesn't necessarily equate to a negative thing. Like you could, if you're really passionate about a business endeavor and you fucking believe in it and all this shit, and you spend like 3 years working on it, you become bankrupt and you put your fucking heart and soul into it, and the next thing you know, you're completely fucked. That's not necessarily a mistake because you learned a lot from that shit. I'm talking more on, I guess, just really stupid mistakes. There are different levels of mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's some shit that's just dumbass shit you shouldn't have been doing, and other things that were developmental, and even if you fail at it, it makes you stronger as a person. Like there's different spectrums of mistakes. So that's I'm trying to
honestly,
I know it's
basically
philosophical.
So
I'm trying to come at it.
No, that's a
with-
good way to look at it.
I'm agreeing with what you say, Jesse. Like I'm agreeing with what you say, and people I like the equating it to risks because Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like you got to make some risks or take risks to go anywhere in life. So I'm going to simplify the whole mistake thing to the very core of, I'm going to go off of what that question says, which is if you learn from your mistakes, why do you fear making them? I'm just going to super simplify the fucking, Paul, you're redoing your bathroom. Okay? You don't want to make a mistake redoing it. You've never done it before. You decide to do it yourself. You get construction supplies. You do all this stuff. You don't want to make a mistake because a mistake brings on temporary and immediate pain versus pleasure. It brings on pain in the sense of you either cost yourself more money or you break something or you flood your bathroom or something like that. That is the reason you don't want to make a mistake. Even though you'll learn from that mistake, and down the road, whenever you go to do it again at a new house or whatever, you'll have learned from that and it'll help you and make it easier to do it again. But at the time, with the most we have a very short attention span, or not attention span, but a short perception of time where we're immediate satisfaction. You don't want to make a mistake. You fear making a mistake while you're redoing your bathroom because if you make a mistake, it means immediate pain or a negative response. So that's why you're afraid to do it.
Yeah.
That's why people fear making mistakes because the immediate response is a negative.
But you still do it anyways, and you get that negative response.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's why you're afraid of it, though.
mistakes
Like on a
just happen. Yeah.
brain fucking level. That's why you're afraid of it is because the immediate response is a negative. Even if it's a positive in the long run, the first thing you feel is a negative after a mistake. And nobody wants that. So your brain just naturally fears making that mistake because it fears that negative reaction.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it too.
And that can be for everything. That's not just doing, redoing a bathroom. That's anything, small or large. Your brain's always, if you're trying to do something and it doesn't go the way you want it to, you're obviously going to have a negative reaction.
I think that's probably like the simplest answer of the question so far.
That was my trying to put it real fucking boring logically kind of answer.
Kind of hit it spot on, man, in my opinion.
But Jesse's was a lot more profound if you're going for actual Yeah.
Two different perspectives to look at it. Yeah. I don't have anything else to really add to that.
What's the next one?
Next one? All right. I don't like that one. That one's kind of weird. This one's not bad. Is the thing you want to achieve really that hard to achieve, or is it that you didn't try hard to achieve it? I think that one's simple, too, and kind of in retrospect, because, we've talked about that a lot in the podcast, not specifically in that type of wording, but...
And it almost feels like this goes back to the last question with the mistakes and risk.
Yeah, just do...
did you do the risk
exactly
to achieve the thing you wanted?
Yeah, no.
And this is for people with ambition.
Yeah.
That too.
First of all.
So never mind. We're going to move on to the next one. If life is short, why do you dwell on the things that don't matter?
Oh, that's a good one.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, there are so many times where I'm driving in my car or just I'm alone and I have this out of nowhere, just this anxiety burst memory of some cringy ass shit that I've done in my life. And I'm why am I spending time fucking going over this pointless ass stupid memory that probably only I remember of me being fucking stupid and shit, and I fucking dwell on it. And what was the question again? I'm sorry. I'm fucking
If life
all
is
over
so
the place.
short, why dwell? Yeah.
Why am I dwelling? What is the purpose of this anxiety?
But
it's so fucking stupid. Don't dwell on it.
But you're dwelling on things that do matter, because if it affected someone, then it mattered in that moment. So you're saying,
and I guess there were partial learning experiences too that are in there. But it's just man, that's already. I know I'm not going to do this. I don't need to be reliving this fucking memory in full 4K, 3080 Ti shit in my fucking head. This stresses me out. Only the bad memories come in, super clear like that. But
so bad memories.
I feel like
matter,
that's compared to us. You actually have really heightened anxiety issues too.
Oh, I think I do. I think I do.
Bad things could matter. This is saying things that don't matter.
No, they don't fucking matter, though.
I was going to say, that depends on your definition of what doesn't
matter.
matter.
They don't matter. So much of the shit that I worry about, doesn't matter. And then once it's done, and if I'm worrying about something completely fucking stupid, and then all of a sudden it passes, like everything else will in life, and then it's just oh, yeah, no, that was over. Why the fuck did I ever worry about that? I just wasted time worrying about something that was super easy, and I'm overanalyzing. Or I'm just...
Hold on, so let's take it a step back, though. So, when you're in a moment and you get heated and it's something that you dwell on, initially for probably, let's say, a couple hours, something happens at work and it doesn't really matter, but it affects you at work for, let's say, an 8-hour span, that's technically something that doesn't matter that you should dwell on. So I think as human beings, we all go through that process of whatever's happening to me right now, it doesn't really please me, and I'm kind of mad about it, and I'm going to stay mad about it for a long period of time. Does that make sense?
I don't feel like not to be that guy, I don't feel like I have that issue too much.
There's been something at work that happened. Let's say when you were managing and someone called in, you never dwelled on it?
Not really. You do the thing.
When a guest talks to you a certain way, you never dwelled on it?
Oh, I do.
I mean, maybe for a very short amount of time.
There's shit that happened fucking 6 years ago.
Even an hour,
bugs me.
of you dwelling on that, even 30 minutes or even 15 minutes.
Yeah, but to me, 15 minutes to an hour is because it's still fresh in your mind and it's a thought process that you're going through.
But it's something that doesn't matter. And why do we dwell on it?
To me, I would say that during that hour, I'm thinking about it and reworking it so I don't do that in the future. Or so that I can come up with ways to fix that situation.
But I think you still dwell on it, though.
But I don't dwell on it like a day later or anything.
No.
I'm over it.
Okay, so my dwelling on it is very much an emotional thing. It's not so much of a, hey, let's rationalize or let's make this a rational scenario and this is how I fix it. It's only the emotion comes back. And
See, I don't really feel like I'm sure there are things here and there that I do, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Because I could have rational, I could think about something and then have a rational explanation for it. And, oh, yeah, this will never happen again. Because, honestly, whatever really happens twice exactly the same way doesn't happen. But I get that emotion back. And it's, I don't know, it's a frustrating thing to,
I'm sure I do from time to time, but I feel like in general, I don't get
and
that
I gotta
a
tell
lot.
myself I'm
we've
stupid.
We've even worked together, man, and like if I get, we work for tips or whatever. If I get tipped poorly, I'm like, wow, what a fucking jackass. This really sucks. But then I just go back to being fucking positive for the rest of my fucking tables or bar patrons or whatever because it doesn't matter. So I don't dwell on it. It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
I don't know. I always have these like weird little popping up emotions, and they come out of fucking nowhere to where it's either cringy or I just get like
I said, you also have some like real anxiety issues.
I think I do have anxiety
You do.
issues.
Even like booze aside, we've had this conversation off the podcast before.
Yeah.
So I don't want to delve too much into your life on the podcast. But no, I legitimately think that you have some like which everybody's got
people. There's gonna be like 3 people listening.
Yeah,
to this
everybody's got something, man. We've all got fucking issues. Yours just happens, or one of yours, I should say, because you might have more. Yours happens to be pretty bad anxiety.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I get little bits of anxiety here and there, but they're more like public talking to people anxiety. I don't ever really get the kind of anxiety you have where you talk about like looking at things in your past that happened and they just kind of pop up out of nowhere and you're like, oh, why did I do this at this moment? Or, oh, that's so cringy. Why was I like this? Blah, blah, blah. I don't really get that.
Oh, I do all the fucking time. All the fucking time. I also refuse to be medicated, though, because I don't like art.
Yeah,
I don't want to get
that.
political.
I get that.
That'll get political.
You got anything else, Paul?
Oh yeah, dude. It just gets better from here.
Yeah.
Or did you answer that one?
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, I kind of briefly went into it, but yeah, we'll move on. What makes you think that you're special? And maybe that's not even a good one. I just wanted to say that out loud because
actually, this is a very necessary thing. So human beings constantly need this weird duality between different shit. Like, you need to be accepted and you need to be unique at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You need to and this just goes like on, and I can't think of it right now. I actually read some shit on it that I'm pretty sure is accurate. Don't ask me. But no, there is this very much like...
Real quick, though, before you go into it, do you think that inherently people think that they're special? Is that why the question exists?
Yeah, I think that everybody thinks that they're unique in some way.
Okay. Sorry. So
no, I think everybody wants to feel unique.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Because you can suck that out of a human being. There's been plenty of examples to where you can, like, psychologically take that out of, in very unmoral ways.
Yeah.
You can take that uniqueness out of people. But no, it is, and because we are unique. Everybody, I mean, the way that I look at life is I'm having this extremely unique experience, and everybody else has had an extremely unique experience. Nobody's gone through life the same time fucking twice kind of thing. So that inherently, not to steal your word, makes you unique. But there is this weird balance you have to have with being accepted with everybody else too. Because if you're too unique, and we're very much pack mentality whenever it comes to human beings need human beings to survive. That's just how it's always been. That's how it always will be. So you don't want to ever be too unique to where you're pushed out because you need to be accepted. Nobody likes to be ostracized. Nobody fucking likes to be like left out, and that causes all kinds of fucking negative mentality level shit. But no, at the same time, people want to be unique and stand out. It's this weird duality that human beings have to go through. So yeah, what was the initial question? I don't even know.
I mean, basically, why do you feel like you're special?
Because everybody is special. It's just how special will you allow yourself to be around other people before you're being ostracized from them? Because everybody's probably like right there to where, you know, oh man,
I feel like
anybody completely honest and truthful, you would have been tossed out. Like, man, you're way too honest.
So what about
you're creeping me? You're creeping us out.
What
right
about
now.
what about the
Like,
Truman Show? Jim Carrey. Let's just say, for instance, in that type of environment or in that moment, if Jim Carrey were to think, or Truman were to think that he was special and that, I don't know, maybe I'm doing a bad way.
No, that's what. Okay,
I think that's a pretty hardcore version of special. You're
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
like
But-
special more so than other people.
But man, that's almost redundant that you're saying that, because what made him so special to everybody else is he
was a
didn't
normal
realize.
person.
He didn't realize that he was being watched, so he was just being a normal person.
But what's-
and he wanted to go to fucking Fiji and all this, but they had to suppress it because they had to like keep him in the fucking show.
What if he?
which is probably why he wanted to go in the first
what
place,
if-
is
what
because
if-
he was kept there.
What if he thought that he was? And I know this is trippy, but what would you think, or what would happen if he thought that he was? What that movie was about? He thought that.
what?
He thought, like, he knew that he was in that environment type of thing, or he thought that, like, he's
It
like,
would completely
then
destroy
he'd be
it.
a sociopath. If you don't leave that environment and you stay in that environment, this is an interesting question you're asking me right now. If Truman at the end of the show, which I'm spoiling this movie for everybody right now,
If you haven't seen the Truman Show by now,
good point. If he finds out all the shit that he's the center of a TV show and they want him to come back, if he comes back to that, he is a sociopath because he is all about the attention.
fair enough.
That's my view on it. Then he has got some mental illness. The correct way to end that movie is
have you never had that thought? Sorry to cut you off. Have you never had that thought where you're like, man, like what happens if like I'm making all this up myself? Like the whole world, you know what I'm saying?
That's like a God complex.
Came out,
Yeah.
that came out after the Truman Show, to where people were like, "Oh man, what if?"
But that's
the
more of a
world
paranoia
centered
than
around me.
the-
No, what you're talking about is human ego. You're just talking about an ego complex to where people feel like the center of the world because we
which
only
everybody
experience
does
the
to a
world
degree.
through-
Everybody is the main character of their own book.
Yeah, because
in your book, I'm sorry, Jesse, I'm completely stealing your shit right now. In your book, in your story, you're in every chapter. You're not only in every chapter, you're on every page because it's your life. As to where I'm only in a couple of pages or a few chapters here and there. I'm on chapters on Sunday nights when we're doing the podcast. You know what I mean? Jesse's on chapters on Sunday nights, and then maybe a Wednesday night when you call him up drunk or whatever. Like, other people in your life, even the people closest to you, aren't in every line or every paragraph. You know what I mean? Like, everything that you do will, in your book or in your movie, you're in every scene. You know, you're by yourself fucking jerking off or taking a piss or whatever. You're in that fucking scene. You're in that fucking moment.
So
The whole world does revolve around you in your own brain, and I don't mean in a bad way.
How else could you perceive it? You know, it's
Yeah.
almost
You couldn't disassociate.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, but that's why there's empathy, which is why empathy is so important.
so like, but hold on, how you just described it, Johnny. What makes you think that you're special? Like that, you have to live with that. I mean, like, because you
Hold
are
on,
an individual,
hold on.
and that's how you live life.
Let me ask you this real quick, not to cut you off,
No, you're good.
because you have two kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I have yet to have mine, but I guarantee you they're gonna have the same human ego thing to where it's just their world that they're living in at the time. We came from that same. Oh yeah, you can answer me yes or no on that. Is it not Phoenix's world and Finley's world, and then you're just a part of it, and then they're
Yeah, for the most part.
that's how it is. That's how it is with humans. But as you grow and learn and shit, you realize, man, everybody went through that same thought processy kind of shit. I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, it's a tough one. I think
it's human ego.
I think like when you describe it as like your living chapter, it's your book. You know what I'm saying? Why would you not feel special? Like, you want your book to go how you want your book to go.
That's why everybody does feel special,
Yeah.
and you should feel unique. And everybody's different. Everybody's talented. Every single human being has stuff that they're good at, and every single human being has stuff that they're not good at or that are flaws. And you should feel special and unique for being good at the things that you're good at. And honestly, you're kind of unique, even though you don't want to think about it because it's a negative. You're unique for your flaws as well.
Yeah.
So everybody
I can get down
is.
with that. And you live here for what we know for however long, like, between 0 to 130 years, give or take. And 130 years is stretching it, and 0 is also stretching it. But why not feel special throughout those years? Because it's a short amount of time.
It's not bad to feel special.
Yeah.
It's bad to feel, in my opinion, it's bad to feel that you're more important than everybody else. Your book that's all about you is not a more important book than other people's.
Sure, and that runs into what society has become today, because that exists.
Your book's all about you, and it should be all about you because it's
Yeah.
your book and it's your life.
There are people,
But those other books exist and have equal space on that bookshelf.
yes, exactly. But those other people, some people take it to an extreme.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that damn. These are some good ones, man. I feel like last time we did this, they were probably more deeper.
Not gonna lie, I feel really good about my bookshelf analogy there.
Yeah, I do too, man. That's good. That's a good one. See that I open up TikTok with that? Let's go. This one's not as deep. Just a kind of a little.
If it's the fucking ketchup or mayonnaise sweating,
no,
don't give a shit.
No, it's not. How many friends do you have that you can trust with your life?
All of them, because they wouldn't be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can't trust you with my life,
You're probably not my friend. You're an acquaintance.
Yeah. Moving on. Next one. If you're employed, is your job giving you anything other than money?
Oh,
I mean, friendships,
wow. Okay.
relationships.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
in all
no,
fairness, my
'cause
job
there's
didn't give me that.
there's
Me
deeper
being there did.
layers to that, and also, man. But then I'm gonna sound like I'm buying into this whole internships are a thing because you're getting experience, and I don't want to promote that.
I don't think that your job specifically, and also I've been on that whole communism anti-work rant lately.
You're bringing up politics with that question.
But
is what
okay,
you're doing.
the real quick answer for me is that yes, it has, but so would anything you're doing. If you weren't at that job and instead you just spent a lot of time at the public library, you would still make friends. Stuff would still happen to you. Stuff still would result. The only way it wouldn't is if you were sitting alone in a corner forever.
Well, I feel
But
like
not just your work. You could be out doing anything. You could be taking a swimming class.
so
and that
hold on.
swimming class would bring the same thing that your work does.
You're talking about that's an activity, but specifically, I think for this question, we're in a work environment where social interaction you thrive from. So you do develop relationships. So other than
but I could do
money-
that without work. I could do it with anything social.
No. I mean, if you're in a desk job and you're crunching numbers and you get a break and you go and you talk to someone for maybe 10 minutes and you don't really make friends with that person, what does work really other than money? What does it give them? You're not making relationships in an office job. Some people are.
Yeah, you do.
But not
I had
everyone.
an office
Not
job for a
everyone.
while when I was
Not-
doing the architecture stuff.
Not everyone, though. I'm sure there are some people who are recluse. And,
Man, human beings are not that complex as a lot of people want to make them out to be, or us out to be as human beings. You put us in any scenario, and we eventually socialize, and we will.
But not
Dude,
every.
you pick up little quirks and shit like that. You'd be surprised how easily we're molded around just our environment and the people that are around us.
So I think the answer to the question is if you're and see, this is the big thing with COVID, because a lot of people are working from home. Granted, you still are on Zoom meetings or Skype meetings, shit like that. But and you're still talking to people, but it's not getting that human interaction that we're typically accustomed to.
But the question is, sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the question is, do you get stuff out of that?
That's what I'm saying.
My mom works from home. She still gets stuff out of the fact that she works from home.
Like what?
There are positives to the fact that she doesn't have to go to the office.
Like what?
She has a lot more time to enjoy her actual life and go out with friends and do stuff.
Fair enough. But what happens if, someone young in their career, and I know that we're coming to get off topic here, someone young, 18, gets an office job, but it's via online, you're not going to get to meet those people. And let's say that's how you would normally meet your friends. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the people that I made connections with was through work and through the restaurant industry. And if you're in a business type scenario and you don't get that initially from being in the office, then how do you meet those people?
Okay, so my answer to the question is yes, work has given me stuff besides money.
Fair enough.
It has given me friends and relationships and learning processes and everything else. But I don't attribute that to just work, because if I were to replace work with any other social activity, it would also give me those things.
The only reason why I don't want to talk on it is because I hate the idea of internships, of unpaid internships, and that's literally the argument for unpaid internships.
Is that you're getting other stuff out of it.
Yeah.
Which
Fair
is
enough.
highly...
That's
I don't want to get
not
on this
money.
because I've already been on
No,
this.
so that's
Yeah.
way too...
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a good one here. What color is a mirror?
Oh.
That's actually an answerable question that I've seen before. Hold on.
Wait, what color is a mirror?
Yeah. No, it does have a color.
Is chrome a color or a material?
No, it actually does have a color. I cannot remember what the answer was to this, but there is actually a scientific answer to this.
Man, I don't. If there's a scientific answer, then that question's really easy to answer just by Googling it.
Yeah.
In my mind, though, I'm like, what? White reflects all lights. White reflects all colors, or all colors of light, which would make that white. But so does a mirror.
So it's a soda lime silica glass substrate with a silver backing. Or to put it in layman terms,
So it's silver?
silvery sheet of soda lime glass. I don't know if that's
It
really
does
a color.
have it does have a color.
Obviously,
But it's not how we
Silver. Silver would be the color then.
yeah.
But the moment that you're looking at it, it has multiple colors being projected from whatever's in the mirror.
there are some weird whatever.
Okay.
That's too scientific.
Yeah, that one is kind of scientific. If anything,
Keep it philosophical. That's where the questions get good.
Okay. If anything is possible, is it possible for anything to be impossible?
Oh.
Say that one more time. I know what it is, but I need it
It
to
might
like.
be a double negative. Or not a double negative.
I need that to re-register with me.
If anything is possible, is it possible for anything to be impossible?
Yeah, it's the multiverse, bro.
That one's over my head, man.
No, nothing is impossible.
Nothing's impossible?
Mm-mm.
At this point, now you're getting some weird shit because now it involves time.
Yeah, because
Ignoring time travel and time in general, ignoring time in this specific moment, yes, anything is technically possible.
And by the way,
there's always a percentage chance that anything could happen.
And
So
also a pointless question for the sentient beings that we are sitting in front of mics.
We can't comprehend that with.
That's a lot.
That could go off in a lot of different directions. That's like saying
You're almost talking about God at that
To
point.
me, that's also another scientific
that's close
one
to
and not so
God.
much a philosophical one. Because in my head, and I could be wrong, but I'm like, literally anything has at least a 0.000 repeating 1% chance of happening.
Okay, so we'll move on again. Sorry, I got
Give us another good one.
If someone with multiple personalities threatens to kill himself, is it considered a hostage situation?
Oh, wow.
I see that more as a joke. That's
it's not. Realistically,
that's like bad stand up right there. That's not even. That's literally bad stand up.
Okay. Sorry, it's a different website. I went through the last ones on the last one or the last.
No, that's
website.
fine. That's just when I hear that, I'm like, man, that's a really bad stand up routine.
Okay, if you try to fail and succeed, then which one have you done?
What?
If you try to fail and succeed, then which one?
No,
have you
see,
done?
that doesn't work because what if failing is you succeeding?
Oh,
You
I
succeed in failing.
Yeah, no, he's saying if you try to fail and you succeed at failing, then which one have you done? You've succeeded at doing what you wanted to do, which was fail.
I don't know.
Okay, get another fucking good one,
get some
Paul.
philosophical
How much
ones.
time we got left,
This
man?
website sucks. I know we're probably getting close to the end of the hour.
No, we're at an hour now.
Are we?
Yeah.
I still like these questions, just
So
not the
one more
last
good
couple.
one.
Is this
one more good
Is
one?
this? Hold on. I'll do one more good one after this one. I don't know if this one's true or not. Why is it that when you're driving and looking for an address, you turn down the volume on the radio?
Oh, a lot of people do that. Helps you concentrate.
know. Yeah, I guess that's the best.
It's less like stimulus.
Yeah, there you
okay,
go.
Fair enough.
Super. Actually, that's a really easy question to answer. Good shit.
Can Christians judge each other?
They do all the time.
I was about to say.
They
well,
do
if
all the
can't-
time.
If they can't, they've been fucking up because they do.
They're doing it.
They definitely do. But what they're getting at though, is very
should they?
simplistic biblical verses that talks about not judging other people. So that actually has some humorous shit to it. But yeah.
Hold on. So Job is a person in the Bible?
Job.
Job. Sorry. Never mind. I thought it said
Job. It is.
It's spelled J-O-B, but it's Job.
Job.
yeah.
It's a good name. Man, name your kid Job.
No.
I don't know anything about the stories about Job. Maybe he was a mass murderer in the Bible. I don't know.
No, Job was the guy that God literally tortured because he was in a competition with the devil to see how willing he was to serve God. So he God killed like his sons and then gave him famine and then took away his wealth, and then he still
Was faithful to God.
Still faithful to God, and then he was rewarded at the end after God literally killed his entire family and took away everything from him, and then I guess he got some shit at the end. I can't remember. But that was Job.
That's all I got, man. DuckDuckGo is not, they're not as refined as Google. You know what I'm saying?
For reasons.
Yeah, for reasons. Google's an oligarchy, for sure. So whatever. That's all I got, man. So it's some interesting stuff to talk about.
Man, I hope some people in the comments actually answered a couple of these questions. Wolfflow, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
You comment a lot, which I'm down with. And if you watch this, I hope you answered at least one of those questions.
My cousin Bob, Will.
Oh, Bobby?
Yeah.
I told you I met Bobby the other day.
No, that's cool as fuck, man.
Crazy. It blew my mind shaking that motherfucker's hand.
Yeah.
Wow. He ordered steak fajitas.
Did he?
He did.
Normally he does enchiladas.
I think it was steak fajitas.
Enchiladas.
I can't do fajitas at Jose. It's got to be fresh, like legit fresh.
You know what's weird is we're on some weird shit, so we can end it if you want, or I can just keep talking about fajitas.
I'm down with fajitas, man.
Okay. Jose's is out of every Mexican place I've been to, and I know that Jose's is very Tex-Mex. Out of every place I've been to, Jose's is the only place that I like fajitas. Everywhere else, my view on fajitas has always been you're paying more to make the food yourself. You're paying more to assemble the tacos yourself and for them to just add burnt flavoring. That's what I feel like everywhere I go to get fajitas. I'm like, it just tastes slightly more burnt than a taco, and I have to make it myself.
Well, that's an experience, though.
I don't know. I don't like fajitas anywhere. Jose's, I actually like it because it doesn't taste burnt, and because they use the pineapple juice and shit, it actually tastes different from their other food.
They use pineapple juice. What are you talking about?
They use pineapple juice when they cook the fajitas.
No.
They did when I was working there.
Bro, I haven't had fajitas in like 5 years from there. I don't know.
They did when I was working there.
Squirt water on the skillet to make it sizzle.
They use pineapple juice when cooking the steak for the fajitas.
Well,
I know you literally did more there than I ever
we'll
did.
Talk about that later.
But
yeah. Hopefully you guys like this podcast tonight. Still working on getting some guests into the house. Definitely can do some more to make that happen. But we are working on getting some guests for you guys to enjoy that type of stuff. The best thing that you guys can do for this podcast is just share it with your friends, honestly. You don't even have to hit the like button or subscribe button, but just share it with your friends, and if you enjoyed it,
I'm really mad that YouTube doesn't show dislikes anymore.
Me too. Life is soft now, man.
I hate the fact that they don't show dislikes, and everybody's like, oh, it's to improve, blah, blah, blah. I don't like it because sometimes I would go to a video and not even have to watch it, and I could see that it's got 1,000 likes and 20,000 dislikes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I know now that this isn't the video I was looking for.
Yeah.
Now's a perfect time to shout out the movie Don't Look Up, which I thoroughly recommend to anybody who's listening to this right now.
Great movie.
Watch Don't Look Up. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Don't watch the trailer. Go into it blind.
Go into it blind.
I haven't watched the trailer, so I'll be good.
Good. Don't.
Yeah.
All you know is it's a satire, and that's okay to know going in.
Yeah. We'll leave it there. To all our junkies out there,
Stay fly and ring the bell.
I'm going to get you a bell one day, Jesse.
You said that like week 2 of like doing this, that you're going to actually get me a bell. Like a little like, hey.
Like a bicycle bell or a